All right. Well, when I read about The King before it came out, I was interested. You know,
Yeah.
I was down.
Timothée Chalamet,
Yeah.
Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, I'm seeing these promotional stills. I'm thinking, you know, they've got the costume budget, they've got the reference pics.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got the Pinterest.
But they didn't employ the script supervisor.
No, or the music supervisor, or I don't know.
They had a good location scout.
Yeah.
Did you see Outlaw King? that came
No,
out?
I didn't. That's the one about Robert the Bruce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looked pretty interchangeable with this film. They had pretty much
Sure.
exactly the same release. London Film Festival, Netflix.
Yeah. This film sucked.
Yeah, I hated it. It's an adaptation of Shakespeare's Henriad, Henry IV, Part 1 and 2, and Henry V. A loose adaptation.
Yeah. So following the young, not yet Henry V, Prince Hal, from his, you know, ratchet lifestyle in a London into, you know, the victorious battlefield of Agincourt.
It starts out, it's like Gus Van Sant's Last Days, you know, this guy's just staring at the wall or whatever. They got like the backwards ambient music and he's like supposed to look hungover or whatever. It's a big transformation for Timothée Chalamet. He goes from not talking at all to like screaming about turning the space into tissue or whatever.
Oh my god. Okay, so let's talk about the script then.
Right.
The story is, look, this is a story broadly as received. That's fine. That's fine. Like,
Shakespeare adapted it from Holinshed,
yeah,
and then this guy did whatever he did to Shakespeare.
yeah, which was to strip it of all poetry, sort of Games of Thronesify it,
100%.
whereby all the dialogue is just absolute trash. There are some really wince-inducing moments. The use of profanity as a form of sort of stressing points.
Classic.
Yeah, cheap. And look, people fucking swore in the medieval period, that's fine. But there's a more organic way of doing it than, I don't know. It's also really shouty, again, like the way that they convey emotion or... It's just through shouting.
It's the same as like Gladiator, Troy, like all of these things, all of these like epic, like non-historical films, you know, like, you know, it's not like these Hollywood films in like the 50s or 60s or whatever, where it's like, we'll get on to Henry V and how the acting isn't the main thing going on or whatever. It's not all just to like service like a really shouty, aggressive performance or whatever.
But this interpretation of the source material seemed to have no subtext, no politics. Or certainly no discernible politics.
Yeah, definitely not. I basically felt nothing from this film. Like, the story didn't tell me anything. Like, whether the scenes are like taking place in London or like on a battlefield, there's no like texture. If you compare it to another Antipodean director's Shakespeare mishandling, maybe Justin Kurzel, who made Snowtown, his Macbeth adaptation is pretty different to this. That is all about the visuals and sort of trying to marry Shakespeare's language with nature and like lighting.
That's like a proper
Colour.
fucking tone poem of a film.
That's
you know?
exactly what it is, yeah.
Like, this is not that at all. It's extremely staid and...
There's no tone whatsoever.
Yeah.
It is very much like Game of Thrones, you know.
Yeah.
A dragon could have turned up at any point, as I think you were
yeah.
saying, you know. I did appreciate one bit of the casting, which was Robert Pattinson. I mean, we're in my house, we have to stand a Dauphin. Robert Pattinson, I thought, was hilarious in a bit of like sort of carry-on casting, you know. I mean, definitely that's what it was, but at least he brought something to the film that was utterly like dreadful and banal, and then at least he made me laugh when he was talking about the massive balls and tiny cock or whatever, you know.
Yeah, he just brings a bit of flavour and character.
Right.
Where even if... I don't know, I thought it was a bit of a ludicrous performance, to be honest. And I am a fan. All the performances sucked, really.
Sure.
As I said, like...
You didn't think Lily Rose Depp killed it? Born to act, that girl.
I like the guy that played the Chief Justice. Out of... I don't know who he is. I think he's in, like, Mission Impossible or something.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Good film.
Yeah.
Series better than this shit.
Yeah. But that was just, like, because it was just, like, a standard, like, you know... You're allowed to be beige in the back.
Yeah, sure. I don't know what the modern versions of these kind of films are that are good, though. There's a film about the English Civil War called To Kill a King from like 2004. It's quite minor, but I remember really enjoying that.
It's not a film, but it's similar. The Last Kingdom, the BBC book series adaptation. I think that's way more successful in just like, you know, exploring like character relations. Like, this is meant to be a film or a story about, you know, about the characters and like what they represent, like, and how they interact. And it's just it all seems so shallow and I don't know.
Yeah.
Just stripped of all meaning and poetry, and what's left, like a few cool fight scenes which, you know, miseducate viewers about what actually happened in those battles. So then, like, its one virtue is negated.
I had a huge problem with... I like Joel Edgerton. I think he worked on the script. I think he's a pretty solid actor.
He plays Falstaff in the...
Yeah, Falstaff's a fictional character created by William Shakespeare. A lot of people say, like, one of his greatest characters. Features across a lot of plays, like The Merry Wives of Windsor and, like, the Henry IV ones. He doesn't feature in Henry V, but he features well into the story of Henry V in this film. But instead of being this sort of, like, roguish everyman who's like a drunkard and both like a tragic and a comic figure, The Chimes of Midnight is all about him, and we'll talk about that later. But Joel Edgerton, the fact that the character still exists, but he doesn't do any of that. He's just like some guy who comes through with the like sick battle plan at Agincourt. I don't know why they bothered to keep him in the thing.
No, especially because they don't ramp up the dramatic tension between him and Hal really anywhere near.
There's no like betrayal.
As much as it could be, you know.
For sure. It's, you know, it's just all about Hal's development from being like a waste man to being like a triumphant king who can, you know.
Just to jump back quickly to Robert Pattinson's performance then, and, you know, the Frenchness of it. He's doing, you know, a quite inconsistent, as you said, like a carry on up the Seine or whatever.
You know? Definitely.
And I don't know, it just seems like Henry V is like a nationalistic play, I think, right? That I guess that is its one political stance, you know, especially linked like a monarchical vision of the state and like that form of like legitimating power, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they don't really do anything with that. This is all just stripped down to caricatures and, you know, like a shocking interpretation of these like national histories, right?
Sure. But the main character wins in the end, and that's kind of the whole thing. It's like, you know, when Troy came out, like, I don't know, I had to study that shit in school because I was studying like the Iliad or whatever. I guess it's a very comparable thing because they just don't give a fuck about the text, like, at all, mishandle it, like, bring characters back to life, like, kill characters. And even if these are both like sort of semi-fictionalized, like, war stories, but they're just like bait Hollywood films.
Yeah, I mean, there's a scene where Robert Pattinson's character, the Dauphin himself, a combination of different historical figures, the different like heirs of the French king. He turns up in the woods outside the English camp and like basically like beheads a little kid, right? It's just like pantomime villainy.
Yeah. But in such a serious film, it doesn't.
Yeah, for sure. The film takes itself extremely seriously. That's another thing. Like, there's no humour in it.
At least the Henry V, Laurence Olivier, which is very, very serious and like reverential to the words of William Shakespeare, but that is a way more humorous, entertaining, like crowd-pleasing, and like multifaceted, multi-voiced way to tell that story. Whereas in this film, like, every character kind of talks in exactly the same register, apart from Robert Pattinson. Yeah. Which is ridiculous. Yeah. But he was definitely my favourite thing about the film.
Yeah, for sure. It was just like he was on a completely different page to everyone else, and like, it's a really bad film. It's also a few other things. It's really long.
Yeah, it was far too long.
Way. Like, films can be long.
I mean, the Henriad is long, dude. That's like 7 hours of... So, you know, like, maybe they did a pretty good job of condensing all that long, boring Shakespeare stuff into this is my fucking battle.
Yeah, come at me, big dog. Ugh. No, I disagree. I disagree, because like, what are the essential elements of the story then that they're trying to tell? Like, it's stripped of all the monologues and
all the relationships.
Yeah, and all the relationships. So what's left? Like
the king.
The king, and not an interesting portrait.
No,
like a one-dimensional.
doesn't succeed on a historical level, doesn't
So-
succeed on like a textual reinterpreting Shakespeare.
Yeah, which is what Chimes at Midnight is all about.
Yeah.
And as we'll discuss, is way more successful at doing.
I would say it's one of the worst films of the year. I'd say it's the worst film of the year, but The Souvenir came out this year, and I really hope we get a Labour government. We wake up with a Labour government on December the 13th, so that film could be seen for the fossil that it is. But yeah, I really hated The King. I thought it was hot trash.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Outlaw King. I don't know how they compare, but maybe there's some sort of like diptych, and they the subtleties and the nuances between the two like Netflix directed films.
Well, look, if they're going to fuck up English history that badly, God knows how disrespectful their treatment of Scottish history would be.
Don't touch Ireland, you motherfuckers.
I'm just going to add, both The King and The Souvenir are extremely conservative films.
Yeah.
And The King is more reactionary, but they're both very
I
conservative.
think The King is just like apolitical, you know.